Hello and welcome to Chicken Bros. My name is David Heath.
Wag wag!
Oh, that's nice. And so the finale came out tonight. So if you haven't seen any of the show, spoilers.
Heavy spoilers.
So
Unless you're a Moon Knight fan, in other case, you might be able to follow this very easily.
maybe we're speaking as somebody people who've never read the comics, so we don't know how far. We're most certain that Marvel Studios has taken liberties because they kind of have
A
to.
few.
But
Excuse me.
yeah, we're here to talk about the Disney Plus series Moon Knight, based off of the comic book character of the same name.
Starring a certain Guatemalan actor who, honestly, we thought he was pretty good already, but this movie, he shows off his range.
Yeah, dude, this guy, Oscar Isaac, by the way, plays Moon Knight, and so well. Who's a character who has DID, dissociative identity disorder, who has multiple personalities, and it's the true testament of an actor how well they can pull off one personality. Because if you look at them side by side and you don't register that they're the same person, then they're doing it right.
Yeah.
So I figure this is a 6-episode series. We'll just go right through it very quickly.
All right.
So the first one, we meet Stephen Grant, who's this very soft-spoken, timid British man who lives in England.
Of course.
And what I thought was funny was that Oscar Isaac said that even though most of the show takes place in England, not a bit of it was shot in the actual England. And he's a gift shopist.
Yeah, gift shop.
I guess
He's a cashier.
Yeah, he's a cashier in a gift
shop
shop
in the London Museum.
Yes, and he's very into Egyptian history, or I guess mythology, or
mythology is the right word.
Well, I don't know if calling it mythology kind of fits, because in this world it's all real.
That is true, but it is mythology.
What we would call mythology, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he knows a lot about Ra and Osiris and all those things.
And all that. Just like me, which is one of the reasons why I kind of latched onto this as quickly as I did.
And
I was like, yeah.
I like Steven's kind of yeah, hello. He's real timid. I like how he's just hello, mate.
Latest gators.
Yeah, I love that. Latest gators. And he's got a little fish named Gus with one fin. Nemo? Little one fin wonder. I like how you called him that.
Yeah.
So
and
yeah,
we don't. The show shows us that for some reason we don't know why this is yet. He ties himself to his bed every night, or at least by a leash around his ankle.
Are you saying we don't know that yet because we haven't gotten that far into the explanation, or do you still not know?
No, it's because we're just starting talking about the show.
Oh, okay, so you do know. Okay, so I got lost in translation.
Well, I've seen the whole show.
I'm just asking. But yeah, and he seems to have this issue about not remembering most things, which is like for example, a woman asking him out on a date. No recollection of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this problem with sleeping, and when he does sleep, when he wakes up, as he tells his mother on the phone, it feels like I got hit by a bus. So he has this little technique every night about what to do to keep his brain awake, which is either reading a book or doing a puzzle. He's listening to this informational tape. And then all of a sudden, as he's laying in his bed, it cuts to him in the middle of a grassy field in the daytime. It's like, what?
Hell? And it was so confusing at first.
Yeah, it was. And I hated the way his jaw was broken. He had to crack it back into place.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
I hate when they do that in shows.
Yeah, and he's in the middle of. I have to assume this is Western Europe, because there's
somewhere
a castle right there, which immediately made me think: is this Latveria?
Oh, I fucking wish.
I bet you it is. See, we don't know yet, but we know Fantastic Four is on the way, so maybe.
I got more of a Germany, Luxembourg kind of vibe.
Yeah, Latveria is supposed to be kind of like Germany, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know. The only thing I know about is that Doctor Doom is the dictator.
Yeah.
Somehow.
And he finds himself in the middle of this grassy field. He has no idea how he got there or what he's doing there. And all of a sudden he hears this booming voice going, "Surrender the body to Mark." He's like, "What? Excuse me? What? Oh no, the idiots.
Oh great, the idiots in drive.
You shouldn't be here." Yep, totally agree. And these guys start shooting at him. It's like, "Don't just stand there, run!" starts running away. He doesn't know where to go, what to do. All of a sudden, he sees these people bowing and paying attention to this guy, Arthur Harrow, played by Ethan Hawke, who is
This old, grizzled white guy in the middle.
a cultist, essentially.
Basically, he's a white dude talking about Egyptian mythology. It's like,
he's a follower of the Egyptian god Ammit.
who in actual mythology is not a god, it is a monster.
Oh.
It has absolutely no power or...
Oh, shit.
They made it into a full-on goddess and villain is interesting, but it makes my mythological heart very sad.
Like we said, they took liberties.
Yeah.
But this guy speaks for Ammit in a sense. Sorry. He basically judges people, whether or not they've done something bad or not, about whether or not they're a good person. It's kind of like punishment before the crime, essentially.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are good, sometimes they're bad because of something they have done or will do. And so he kills them. And he spots...
Not in like a gruesome way or anything, it's just they just keel over dead.
And die. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think any death is good or bad. I don't know. Anyway, he spots Steven and he recognizes him, but like Steven doesn't know him. Like, no, I'm not a mercenary. He's like the scarab, and he's like this little thing. It looks like a beetle.
Well, that's what a scarab is. It's a type of Egyptian beetle.
Oh, okay. I thought that was just the name of like the metal, whatever. The voice in his head is like, "You will not give him that." And every time he tries to give it to him, his hand closes or veers the other way.
Sorry.
I didn't
really
do
Sean.
that. I'm not doing that. And then like they drag him over to this place and try to pry it off of his hand. And they actually get it out of his hand, but then all of a sudden, like it flashes, he blacks out, and then all of a sudden those guys are on the floor next to him, and he's covered in blood. It's like, what the heck just happened? And so he starts running away from these guys. He gets on like this this cupcake van and starts driving away.
Cupcake van.
Yeah. And again, one of the guys gets on the van, tries to pry the scarab off of his body. There's guys in cars catching up with him with guns. Again, he blacks out. They're dead. Like, wake up, Mark. If he loses the scarab, I'll kill you both. He's like, he doesn't know what the hell's going on. And then...
Neither do we.
As the... I think he ran into like a thing that was carrying trees. They all start coming down the hill and start plummeting into these guys, and almost plummets into him. Then he wakes up in his bed as if it was a bad dream. And it's like, oh, okay, bad dream. But then he starts noticing something's amiss when he looks at his one-finned fish and notices he has two fins.
What the hell?
Yeah.
You're not Gus.
And then, like, he gets ready for this supposed date that was supposed to be going on tonight, except it's not tonight. It was a couple days ago. He's like, but wait, I thought you said Friday. Yeah, it's Sunday. So he's like, what the hell is going on? And then, like, he finds the stuff that was in his apartment that he had no knowledge of before. It's like a cell phone and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, and he calls the number on the cell phone, this supposed person named Layla.
Yeah, and she is American, first of all, and she says, I've been trying to call you for months. What the hell's wrong with you, Mark? And he goes, why did you just call me Mark?
American? I always thought she was like Scottish or Irish by her accent.
Oh, yeah, she did have an accent, didn't she? I don't know. My bad. I don't remember.
I mean, the
You're
character...
right. She does have an accent. I can't place it, though.
The character is, like, Middle Eastern because her name is Layla Al-Fuli, which is Middle Eastern, but her accent is, like, Irish or Scottish or something.
And then all of a sudden, Steven starts hearing this voice going, Steven, you don't want to do this. And then, like...
For that one, Oscar Isaacs donned his natural... Maybe not his natural with his Guatemalan, but, like, he adopts an American accent.
Right. And so, like, he starts seeing all these things. He comes across Ethan Hawke again, and he does that thing where he balances his scales, but he says, there's chaos in you. Which we don't know what that's supposed to mean yet.
Nope.
And then later on, after he's closing up shop in his job, this werewolf-looking thing starts attacking him, corners him.
Of course, when the cameras can't see it, but he can.
Yeah. corners him in the bathroom, and then he starts looking in the mirror. He starts seeing his reflection talk back to him, like, Steven, give me control of the body. I gotta save us. He's like, no, this is all a bad dream. This is all a bad dream. He's freaking out, and like, I'm gonna die. No, you're not gonna die. Let me save us. And then he somehow surrenders the body, and then all of a sudden, he starts beating the crap out of that werewolf thing, and he's decked out in this awesome suit.
Which, fun fact, and I only know this because I saw it on like Facebook or Instagram or something. Mm-hmm. The suit in the movie is kind of a mismatch of his classic suit, you know, with the hood and the cape.
Yeah.
And then there's this other suit that he had in the comics that resembled more of like mummy linen, and that's the other half of the suit.
Yeah.
So they kind of took two aspects of two different suits of Moon Knight and merged them into one, which is interesting.
Which I thought was awesome. And then the next day, he's trying to like look at the security cameras, and he can't. There's no proof of it anywhere. It's as if like none of it ever happened. And then
so he gets fired.
Yeah, and then the security guy's like, yeah, like, man, that's just look, it's you right there. Like, that's not me, because he knows that's not his posture, that's not his body language, it's not the way he looks. Even though it looks like him, it's not him. And so he tries figuring out some answers. He finds a key for a storage facility, and he finds all this stuff that's under. Like, the guy at the storage place recognizes him because he says, "I never forget a face," and he takes him to his supposed storage. And it's all the stuff that's not his. Like, I like how he picks up the gun. He's like, oh gosh, and just sets it down like, because he doesn't like guns. He doesn't like violence. And then again, the reflection starts talking to him again. His name is Mark Spector. He's
cool name, by the way.
That is a really dope name. And Steven's like, who the hell are you? What are you? Like some sort of like, what are you? You want to know? I'm a mercenary and I serve the Khonshu, the god of the moon. And he's like, I have one piece of steak and I go loopy because he's a vegan. And so he's finds all this illegal stuff like a passport, a gun, all this stuff, and then the scarab, which is we find out is like a compass leading to Amit's tomb. Mark was keeping it from Harrow because he's trying to release Amit.
Yeah.
And so Steven thinks he's going bonkers and trying to turn himself into the professionals or whatever. There's a British word for police, and I can't think of it.
Well, constable is the name of like a rank in the police officers, but they're still police officers.
Yeah, but there's a word for it. I was just trying to think of the slang for it. But anyway, he's trying to turn himself in, essentially.
That's one.
And he can't. He keeps seeing Khonshu like creep up on him. He's trying to run away, and all of a sudden Layla shows up.
Hello.
And see, she doesn't know about the DID. I don't think.
No, she doesn't. And
so
she starts grilling.
She's calling him Mark as if he he's still Steven at this point. He's like, my name's not Mark, it's Steven.
I remember she said something like, "What's with the fake accent?" And I was like, to him, it's not fake. No.
Well, it's funny because to Oscar Isaac it is.
Oh yeah.
So they go back to his apartment and they're trying to figure out what's going on here. And I love this little moment when she saw her favorite author on his desk. He goes, yeah, it's my favorite author. I'm like, no, it's my favorite author. Or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's cute. They share a little something in common there. And she comes over with divorce papers that Mark sent her. And he's like, look, whoever this Mark is, he's a right twit. I would never divorce you. And he's trying to show her the stuff that's in the bag, and Mark's warning him against him. Don't show her that scarab. You're going to get her killed. She finds it anyway. And then the police come to Steven's apartment. And, well, I mean, it's not really the police. It's actually people who work for Harrow. They take him to him. Mm-hmm. Harrow tries to explain the whole thing about how Ahmed punishes people who will do evil before or after. And, of course, Steven, like the rest of us, would say, don't you think that's kind of unfair? I mean, like, think about a child. Like, would you kill a child if you found out they were going to do something like that? I like the way Steven said that, too. Is like, are you all into that? Child murder? I feel like that's where I would draw the line. And
then, didn't Harrow say that he also used to be Khonshu's avatar?
That is true. He did say that. He's like, I used to be his fist of vengeance. And, I love that the one line of Khonshu became a meme on TikTok where he goes, kill him! Break his windpipe!
It did? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they merged it with the Wackus Bunkus thing. Like, what do you think, Wackus Bunkus? Kill him! Break his windpipe! Woo! You naughty Wackus Bunkus!
Naughty Wackus Bunkus.
So Layla shows up. She has the scarab. And a fight ensues, and she keeps saying summon the suit, which she's talking about that suit we saw in episode 1, and another one of those werewolf things showed up and tosses Steven out a window, and Khonshu's like, summon the suit, and he ends up in this. I mean, it's a suit in the sense that it's a 3-piece suit.
Yeah, which is again also one of Moon Knight's alternate costumes. It's his Mr. Knight persona.
Yeah, it's like a 3-piece suit, completely white, but he still has the headpiece. Yeah, the mask. And Mark's like, Steven, what the hell are we wearing? I don't know. He said suit. Yeah, but like the ancient suit, not Psycho Colonel Sanders. Like, what are these? I think it looks dapper. It's kind of cool, actually. And then so, like, he starts getting into a fight because he refuses to surrender the body to Mark because, you know, he's a killer. Right. And so he has to fight this werewolf thing himself. And I like how he rolled up his sleeves like, you're in my street now. Like, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. My name's Steven with a V. And he actually lands a pretty good punch. And then he goes, wah, wah, I did it! And then the thing kicks him across the bus. Mark's like, that was a hell of a punch back there. He's like, all right, you win. And then Mark takes over the body and spears that thing.
And honestly, I love the fight choreography because, fuck, if I had that power, that would be awesome. Though I wouldn't be Khonshu's avatar. If I was the avatar of any of the Egyptian gods, I would choose Horus, the god of battle, Thoth, god of wisdom, or Osiris, god of the dead, because that would be fucking cool.
Not the goddess of magic? Isis?
Dude, I'm telling... What I said in our little thing is the truth. Isis is a bitch. I am not letting that woman control my body.
Okay. But
typically all the Egyptian gods are assholes, except for one, but we'll get to her later.
Mark eventually figures out that that he lost the scarab, and now Harrow has it, so now he has the thing leading him directly to Amit.
Busted.
Yeah, and so he and Khonshu have to try to figure out how to get there first. And when he's questioning people, or, you know, more to the point, beating the shit out of them, he starts blacking out, and then all of a sudden they're ending up dead, and he's somewhere else. He's like, Steven, what the hell did you do? That wasn't me.
That wasn't me, Knight.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, Jake?
Uh-oh. Jake?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, is that Jake? But we don't get an answer in this episode. But, like, he meets up with Layla again, and he's Mark this whole time, so he's, like, catching up on stuff. And it's all tense, and you figure out they have a history, and, like, that stuff of, like... I got really nervous when I started mentioning her father and like how they used the past tense. And I was like, oh no, did something really bad happen here?
Oh yeah.
And so they meet up with that person that Layla knew. I don't know what his name was, but he had that like artifact that Steven later recognized. And
yeah.
But anyway, Harrow shows up there too, gaslights them, and a fight ensues. I actually love that bit where Mark's fighting as Moon Knight. But then he changes into Steven, he's a Mr. Knight. Hold on, time out, guys, time out, enough with this. And then he gets stabbed. Like, okay, Mark, you take the body. That was so funny. And they take that artifact that they found, and only Steven knows how to use it because it has to do with the stars. And he pieces it together. And he's like, the only problem is that these are the way the stars looked like hundreds of years ago. They change over time. And like, unless we have a map of what the sky looked like at that moment. And Khonshu was like, I'm the god of the night. I remember that night. And so he doesn't exactly turn back time, but he
does turn back the stars,
even
though he knows it will get him banished.
Yeah, so like something we breezed past was that there was like a hearing of Harrow with other people who are avatars for other like Egyptian gods.
Yeah, I believe they were Hathor, Osiris, and maybe Basset, the goddess of cats, who is actually more badass than she seems.
There was a lot of them, and
like 3 of them.
They didn't believe Khonshu when he was trying to say that Harrow was trying to release Amit.
Yeah, he was like yelling and like basically bitching.
Yeah, and so he does this. He turns back the stars, and it's gonna get him banished. And the last thing he tells Steven was, "Tell Mark to set me free." But he does turn it back to where he and Layla can figure out what they need to. I don't remember what the whole star thing needed to do, but like I think it was to pinpoint.
Just so it was, I think, pointing to Amit's tomb because that's how Egyptians did it back then because they didn't have what we have today.
Yeah, so Khonshu is banished. Steven and Layla go to where they need to go. They find the camp there that Harrow and his boys set up, but they've already went into the tomb looking for the thing. And I like how like it seems as though Steven and Layla have far better chemistry than Layla has with Mark. I think,
which is interesting.
yeah, it was like, I think maybe you should just get with him. I don't know, but they go into the tomb, and that bit where that thing was tearing apart that guy and Layla was trying to be quiet, that terrified me.
That was whack.
Yeah, and then Harrow meets up with Layla and says the thing, like, tells her that, like, there was, like, a firing squad or something, like, her father was caught into the crossfire and that Mark was there. He was trying to suggest that maybe Mark killed her father. And then when Steven finds the tomb of frickin' Alexander the Great,
which in real life has actually never been found, so it was a good idea.
Yeah, and, you know, movies, TV shows, they can make that crap up all they want. And Steven actually had to reach into his mouth and pull out the thing.
Because the avatar of Ahmet is literally the voice of Ahmet.
Right. And Steven found it, but then Layla was like, can he hear me? Alexander the Great? No, I hope not. Like, Mark. She has to talk to Mark about the whole, did you kill my dad thing? And Mark says, of course I didn't. And then Harrow shows up, trying to give Mark a second chance, but of course Mark tries to fight his way out. And this actually, like, this surprised me. Harrow shot him.
Yeah, point blank in the chest twice.
Like,
double tap in the chest.
Yeah, and he says, I can't help anyone who won't help themselves. And then, like, he freaking... I mean, technically he dies. He
does die.
Yeah, he does die. And then all of a sudden, like, we see him in, like, this psych ward. And then you see people that you've seen in the show, but that they're all patients. And like
except for Harrow, who's like the doctor.
Yeah. And then, like, he's tied to his chair, kind of like his bed, like, ankle bracelet. And he has an action figure of Moon Knight. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And his psychiatrist, who is Ethan Hawke again, is trying to tell him that he's made up this whole fantasy and everything. And Mark doesn't believe it. So he tries to break out, and he finds this shaking sarcophagus. And Steven comes out. He's like, what's the last thing you remember? Harrow shot us. Yes! We need to get out of here. And while they're trying to get out, they meet, I can never pronounce her name right.
Taware, the hippo goddess of fertility and motherhood.
And I like as soon as they come across her, she just goes, hi! And
hi.
They go, ah!
Yeah, when I saw her, I was like, okay, first of all, hi, Taware, you're the one good goddess in all of Egyptian mythology because you're the goddess of literal childbirth and motherhood, so you're obviously awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, they did her well. Like, I like how they portray her in this show, and it reminds me, because one of my favorite authors is Rick Riordan, who does a lot of, like, I guess, young adult fan fiction with mythology, you know, the Percy Jackson series,
right,
for example. But he also does an Egyptian mythology series called the Kane Chronicles, which I also enjoy. And in
those were Rick Riordan?
And in that series, Tarawet is in charge of this retirement home for gods. So it was very reminiscent of that. So I enjoyed that.
So when they meet up with her, she basically tells them that, yeah, you're dead, and your scales need to be balanced. And if they're not balanced by the time we get to, I don't know where they were trying to get to, but basically they have
the fields of eternal rest. And if they weren't,
if their scales balanced, they would end up in the field of reeds. But if they weren't, they would be lost to the Duat.
Which is the Egyptian afterlife.
Right. It's kind of like the way that I don't know about mythology, but at least the way this show portrayed it, it's like the field of reeds is their equivalent of heaven, and the Duat is their equivalent of eternal suffering, which I guess it would be hell.
That's kind of inaccurate because the Duat is really just the realm of the gods. Just, you know, it's, how do I explain this? Gosh, Rick Riordan did this so much better. The Duat is basically the realm of the gods in their truest form, and it is basically a separate dimension where the gods can exist in their true forms without, you know, burning up the minds of mortals or whatever. It's just the realm of where magic comes from and the gods and all that.
Well, liberties.
Yeah, well, in heaven, oh, you're right. In the field of reeds is basically their heaven, but there is no hell because if you're evil and your scales are judged so, then in mythology, Amet would eat your heart and you would cease to exist.
Mm. Well,
But
so basically,
literally.
they need to like um, balance their scales, and so they're walking through this psych ward, which at this point I'm starting to believe was just fabrication, but um, they start seeing memories, and like they
Yep.
one thing I really liked was like because Mark is a mercenary, so he's
Yep.
killed people. They end up in this room full of like dead bodies, and
Yep.
Mark starts going New York, Hong Kong, and he goes, "My God, you remember every single one of them. You try taking a life. See how quickly you forget." It's like, oh shit. That's the thing, man. Is like we got to remember, like Marvel does such a good job of telling us that yeah, these guys are superheroes and sometimes they kill people, but they're still humans. Like you take a life, that doesn't just go away in a week. You remember that.
Well, well, yeah, unless you're an asshole like the Punisher.
I guarantee you, he remembers every single one of them.
Yeah, but he probably doesn't feel bad about it. He's just like, yeah, I killed that guy, but he was bad, so it doesn't matter.
I don't know. I guess it depends on the version of the Punisher. But what really got me, and I was really concerned from this point forward. I mean, it didn't get any better, but they see a boy, and Steven goes, "Monk, why is there a young boy in a room full of people you've killed?" So Steven
Ooh.
follows the boy and locks Mark out so he can find out. And
Yeah, and Mark's like, dude, don't go there. Like,
he's
don't
like,
do it.
Steven, let me in. And Steven turns his head and he goes, "Mom?" And he sees this woman who we've not seen up to this point. But
Mm-hmm.
her two sons, one's named Roro, which I think was short for Randall, and the other one is Mark. So it was like,
Yep.
but wait, Steven said mom. So now you're confused. And they go to play just before dinner, like out in the field or whatever, or like they go somewhere.
Yeah.
And
They're going to go to this cave that they usually go to,
yeah,
and Randall was like, Mom said not to go when it's raining because it was about to rain.
right. And Mark said, "Don't
And
be a
Mark's like,
baby."
don't be a baby.
And I should say that before they took off, Mark said to his mom, "Later's Gators." Oh boy. And then, it started raining. They were getting deeper into the cave. Steven was like, "Boys, you've got to come out. Hurry. It's not safe
And like
here."
the place is like flooding, and you can like
Yeah, you can guess what's happening.
gonna
And then all of a
happen. Like,
sudden, it shifts to their living room, like during a funeral for the youngest boy, Roro.
which, ooh,
And
which as someone who has lost a sibling, I feel that.
yes, and it was like that was bad enough. And then it shows the grieving mother looking up at Mark saying, "This is all your fault. This is all your fault." Like
Yeah,
screaming at him. It's like, "Lady, that's your son."
well, yeah, but grief can make you do shit like that.
Yeah,
Now,
but like
I'm not excusing what she did. I'm just saying grief manifests itself
and then
in all different kinds of ways.
Steven tries to follow Mark, like young Mark, up the stairs, and then like our Mark is like, "Steven, don't go up there." And then you see all these memories that Mark has of spending birthdays by himself. And then whenever she would be in his presence, she would say things like, "I should have known you'd do something like this. You were always jealous of him." Like,
Yeah, she was obviously cuckoo.
she was being so mean and so, like, just awful. And Steven's going there like, "Mom, what are you doing?" Like, he's like, this isn't, like, what he knows. And like the more you see like Mark at age 18 like leaving the house is like telling off his father like, "You should have fixed this." And okay, so Chicken Bros fans, I know you're not going to know who we're talking about unless you follow her on TikTok, which you totally should, but there's a TikTok user by the username of the Lupine Sojourner who has been watching this show as it's been coming out, and she brings up a good point that like Mark's mom is awful, but so is Steven's dad. Like, he is completely spineless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he hasn't done anything to try to fix this, and he's like, I don't want to lose another son. It's like, well, then do something.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mark leaves home, and he becomes a mercenary, and shit goes wrong, and yes, like we figured out, Layla's father gets caught in the crossfire, but Mark actually says that he tried to save him, and it didn't work. Mark finds himself near, I guess, Khonshu's tomb or something, but like, I don't know if it was like his tomb or like some sort of resting place.
More
for
like a
Khonshu.
temple.
A temple, yeah. And he's gonna blow his brains out, and Khonshu says, "What a waste." And so that's when you figure out that was the moment that he became Khonshu's avatar. And I loved that moment when he like stood up and like was enveloped in the suit. "Rise and live again as my Moon Knight." I thought that was really cool.
That was pretty awesome, yeah.
And then it cuts back to Mark in his room. His mom is banging on the door, like, let me in, and he's going, that's not my mom, that's not my mom. And then you see his eyes roll back into his head and go, oh my, look at all this mess, I better sort it out before mom sees it. And then Steven is seeing all this, and he sees a poster on the wall of this Indiana Jones ripoff, essentially. And it says, when danger is near, Stephen Grant has no fear. And that's when Stephen realizes, you made me up.
Yeah, he's the false personality.
Yeah, and then...
Which was a shock to us, because we got to know Stephen first.
That is interesting how they did that. And then Mark's mom bursts into the room, grabs a belt, and I don't even need to kind of explain what happens after that. You all know what it is. But Mark pulls Stephen out of there. He's like, you're not meant to see that. That's the whole point of you. Like, the point of me, what am I, a stress ball? Like, you want to know the truth? Like, did she beat you? That she hated you? You got to live your life knowing that your mother was kind, was sweet, that she's still alive. It's like, still alive? And that's when you figure out that their mom is actually dead. But Steven's not believing that because, you know, he's been calling her, like, all that stuff. You saw it in the first episode, which makes that more heartbreaking to watch now.
Which makes me, like, was he just talking into, like, a...
It was voicemail. That's the thing, is like he was leaving messages. She never answered. But something I don't understand, and I figured this out by watching the first episode again. She, according to him, sent him a postcard. Who sent him that postcard?
That's maybe it was Mark.
Oh, maybe it was Mark. Oh gosh. Which makes that all the more painful because then he had to write out this faux message that he knew he would never get from his own mom.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then, you know, it cuts to, like, Steven, again, in the psychiatric ward with, not Harrow, but it's Ethan Hawke is the doctor.
Yeah.
And, you know, he mentioned that his mother passed. And he goes, oh, wait, don't say that. That's not true. Are you having a laugh, too? And he's like, I must be mistaken. You want me to call her? And he's like, no, don't bother her. It's, you know, it's okay. We can call her right up. And it's like, this whole thing is like, it's like Steven's going through the 5 stages of grief all at once because as soon as he like hands him the phone, he goes,
it hits him.
Yeah, my mom's dead. And then it cuts to the funeral of the mom and how Steven's dad's looking outside and Steven's out, or pardon me, Mark's out there. He's trying to get him to come inside, but he won't do it. Also, a fun fact, this scene kind of proved that Mark is Jewish because he's wearing a yarmulke.
Well, and they were having a Shiva, which is a Jewish tradition, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. And then yeah, Mark breaks down in the middle of the street crying, and it's heartbreaking to see. And then
he switches over into Steven.
And he's like, "Oh bollocks, what have I gotten now?" And Steven's seeing all this like he's remembering it because this used to happen to him all the time.
Yeah.
And Mark says this is when our lives started bleeding into each other, and then Steven has to basically tell him, "Mark, it wasn't your fault. You were just kids. All that stuff she said to you is not true."
Yeah.
And so now it's to like they've already crossed over and their scales haven't balanced. So now these people are climbing up from the Duat onto the boat trying to attack them or drag them down. Yeah, drag them down. Mark's trying to, of course, fight it back, and Steven's swerving the boat. I like how he says, "Mark, you've got this." But wait, if I'm you, that means I've got this too. And then he grabs a baseball bat and knocks 2 of their heads out. 6! I prefer cricket.
And
then one of them tries to drag Mark down, but Steven tackles him and unfortunately goes down with him. And this was so sad. You see him like freeze in the sand.
Yeah.
And like...
And then you take, oh goodness, the scales, they're balanced. And then he's in the field of reeds.
Yeah, Mark ends up in the field of reeds. And I just want to say, for the sake, because we haven't exactly said where the episodes end or start, I just want to say that that's where episode 5 ended, with that. So you can imagine our confusion, like, well, where the hell are they going to go from there?
Yeah, then yesterday, or... No, yeah.
Technically yesterday, yeah.
No, it's today, actually. I forgot, because I watched the episode at midnight last night, so...
Okay, yes, technically, if you want to get into that, yes, I guess it technically was today, but...
I forgot, because I went to bed right after.
So to me, it was just yesterday. But, after that, Layla basically tries to suicide mission this whole thing by herself, until...
and Tara was trying to talk, right? Like, talking to dead guys, so what?
And then, like, she's trying to tell her that you need to release Conchu, and, like, when she does do that, but like Harrow's right in the middle of releasing Amit, and Khonshu says he needs an avatar, and he's like, "How
He's
about
like,
you?"
hell no, dude.
Like, so Khonshu, I believe at this point, tries to take on Amit by himself.
Yeah.
And
God to God.
And Mark, I loved this. Mark is telling, man, I have a hard time. Yeah, that like he can't stay there knowing that Steven's by himself in the duat. Like, I can't live like this. I have to go like, and he goes right to him.
Reward, and he gets to just be stuck out there.
Like, no, I'm not having that. And then he goes to Steven and he starts freezing up in the sand like just like he did. And he's like, you were the only real superpower I ever had. And like that hit me right here because this wouldn't happen because A, you're Catholic, and B, I'm not a denominational Christian. But if I found out somehow that you were stuck in eternal suffering while I had to live in paradise, I'm like, no, I'm not letting him suffer alone.
Yeah, well, that's not possible though.
I know, but you see what I'm saying is that
I do understand the sentiment. Yes,
I'm not letting you suffer by yourself in any situation.
Aw, buddy.
And then
just so you know, Chicken Bros, this is why we're called the Chicken Bros, because this guy, he's my bro.
And I guess I mean, she said it was Osiris because she's like, Osiris, you big softy.
Yeah, well, Osiris is the god of the dead.
So, like, a doorway back to, I guess, life opened, and then Mark Steven ran right through it and came back to life. Khonshu immediately sensed it and rebonded with Mark and Steven.
But they had a new deal, like...
I like how, Steven was the one negotiating with him.
Yeah. You're negotiating now? We're the world at stake.
We know from the best old bird brain. And so Khonshu says once this is all over, he'll release them. And so they go to deal with Amit and Harrow. And what I love, and this, I was so stoked when I saw this, which is that Layla joins with
Harrowette.
Yeah, and becomes like her temporary avatar. Dude, that suit was dope.
It was dope. But one thing I didn't like was the wings. But that's just because Tara is a hippo. She doesn't have wings.
I know, but still, it was so cool.
But the suit was really dope.
Yes. And so she and Mark get into a fight with Harrow while Khonshu's fighting Amit. And I gotta admit, I liked seeing Steven actually kick ass. That was so cool. We got a lot of cool abilities now. Like, show me what you can do. We get into a fight. And I liked the bit, too, where Harrow had Mark at his mercy. And again, he blacks out, but then all of a sudden, dead everywhere. Like, that wasn't you, was it, Steven? No chance, mate.
Ooh.
And so they drag Harrow's body into the temple, and they
to bond him with Amit so that they could finally get rid of both of them.
Yeah. They basically trap Amit in Harrow's body. Yep. And he's the only thing to do after that is to kill him, but Mark won't do it. He's like, he tells Khonshu, you want him dead, do it yourself. And so he says, now release us. And Khonshu says, as you wish. And then all's that. And I didn't know what to make of this bit. Mark's again in the psychiatric ward with Ethan Hawke as the doctor. And like telling him that all of this was just a fiction. But then as he sees him taking steps, he sees blood. He's like, you see that, right?
Why am I bleeding?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I see it.
And he's like,
why am I bleeding?
Yeah, and he's like, well, it's tempting to accept your diagnosis, Doc. We're going to go keep saving the world. Laters, Gators. And then he wakes up in Steven's apartment. And he's like, Steven, are you there? Yeah. I can't believe it worked. I can't believe you live in this dump. And he trips over the ankle bracelet. and then...
There's an end credit scene.
And this was so well done. I love this end credit scene. Which is, it's Harrow in the psychiatric ward, but not the same one that Steven and Mark's been in.
Right.
And then somebody whose face you don't see starts coming in speaking, what was that, Spanish?
It sounded like Spanish to me.
Yeah, and he basically wheels Harrow to this big limousine. And inside, Harrow sees Khonshu. He's like, Khonshu, you can't hurt us. He's like, you want to know something? Mark was worried that I would take his wife as my new avatar, But why would I need anyone else when he has no idea how broken he is? And then he knocks on the window. Meet my new friend, Jake Lockley. And it's still Oscar Isaac, and he leans over and says, in whatever language that is, today's your day to lose. He points a gun at him and kills Harrow. And then they just drive away. Did you notice the tag said Spectre?
Yep.
I was like, okay, that was cool.
And now I want more.
I have a feeling that Marvel is secretly trying to get the second season made, because I've seen their posts about this on social media, and they don't say series finale, they say season finale. That seems to imply there's more. But I the only reason I'm apprehensive about that is because Oscar Isaac said he tried to dodge the whole multi-contract thing. But I get that, because you're basically signing away years of your life away.
Yeah, and he already did, and he wasted his life with the Star Wars trilogy.
He made money. I don't think that's quite a waste. But this is the thing. If you're in a movie, if you've acted in a movie, regardless of whether or not it does well, you've made your money. So if it does bad, you're nowhere near the scene of the crime. So I'm sure he's fine.
No, I guess.
And besides, this even if he did feel any kind of like self-doubt after the Star Wars movies, this will put him right back on his pedestal. Yeah. Because this show was freaking awesome.
Yep. This is, even as someone who doesn't know nothing about no Moon Knight, this is pretty good.
Yes, and I gotta say, for all the Marvel origin movies that have existed before, this one's very different, and I love it.
Yeah. Breath of fresh air.
Yes, and even though it delved into some very serious family trauma, yeah. But I do hope there's more, and I do hope to see. I was hoping, like, at the end of the credits, it will do that thing that Marvel usually does, where it says so and so will return.
Yeah, and it didn't. I was like, huh.
Okay, so that doesn't mean he won't.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe he'll show up. I would love to see him interact with whatever the Avengers will be called at this point.
Maybe it'll be like the Illuminati, quote unquote. Like, maybe. Not the one from Multiverse of Madness, but there is like a, I don't know if they're a team or just an organization, but it's got.
I think the organization's more the word, at least from what I know in the comics.
I only know because they were mentioned at one point in an Avengers comic that I no longer own.
But yeah, I mean, who knows? The Multiverse of Madness is happening. Maybe the Illuminati will show up there.
Maybe. But
that was Moon Knight. It was really good.
Yeah, I liked it.
No?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. I'm gonna give it the full 10.
All right.
Latest Gators.
Latest Gators.